Hey, hello, I'm Chelsea. Welcome back to my channel where we talk books. So I read quite a lot of books and I noticed a theme in the books that I am attracted to. I would say the majority of the books I read are literary fiction. So you may say that I am somewhat of an expert in that genre, considering most of the books I read are literary fiction. So today I thought I would give you some beginner recommendations. If you're wanting to get into literary fiction, take some of these recommendations because I have read a lot of literary fiction and these are some really great ones to start. Let's start with a definition. What is literary fiction? Because quite frankly, I had no idea that I read so much of that genre until I saw a definition of it and was like, oh, what kind of books are those? And then I looked up what kind of books are considered literary fiction and realized I've read almost all of the top ones. So, definition of literary fiction is: literary fiction is less of a genre than it is a category, which makes defining it difficult. For a general understanding, literary fiction focuses on style, character, and theme over plot. This means that literary fiction is not beholden to certain tropes or genres, and it also means that it can feature elements of any genre and still be categorized as lit fic. That's a little confusing. But how I think of literary fiction is that the majority of the story is character driven. It is about the characters and whatever journey, whatever thing is happening in their life makes the story, as opposed to it being like fantasy where the story is the make-believe world or whatever. That is what I would consider a self-definition of literary fiction. We're gonna start with the most obvious, okay? If you look up literary fiction, this is a book that will come up. In fact, anything by this author, it would be considered literary fiction and probably like one of the #1 modern literary fiction. And that is Miss Sally Rooney's Normal People. Honestly, anything Sally Rooney is literary fiction. I've read all of her books, the books that she's written so far. I do think this one is my favorite. I did also really enjoy Conversations with Friends. Not so much Beautiful World, Where Are You? But you know what? If you're trying to get into literary fiction, any of her books are a good start. But Normal People was, for me, the piece de resistance. This is a story of Connell and Marianne, yeah. They grow up in a like small Irish town. I believe they're Irish. I think the author is Irish. We're gonna say Irish. And it's gotta be Irish, yeah. And so they come from two completely different backgrounds. Marianne is a little more well off than Connell. But Connell is popular. He's the cool guy at school and Marianne is not. She's kind of like the weird girl. They sort of build a friendship a little bit and then a romance, and it's their story. It's their love story. They go from high school to college. They go to the same college and things change. And suddenly Connell is lost and Marianne has found her people. Anyway, Normal People. It was I enjoyed this book. I did not love the ending, but we won't talk about that. Okay, beautifully written though. Yeah, like that one a lot. Next up I have, this one is like, if you've already gotten into literary fiction, maybe this one isn't great for a beginner because she is a thick boy. She is, how many pages? Like 500 pages. So not for the faint of heart. However, a beautiful story. And that is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. This is a beautiful story. Very much a character story. It is about a woman in Japan, Korea. It is about a woman in Korea who, when she is young, has a baby out of wedlock, which it takes place in the early 1900s. So that's a big no-no. And essentially it's her story and her child's story and the whole family story. And it is beautiful, so well written. And the characters is just, I loved following these characters. So you follow Sunja, which is the mother, the teenage young mother who ends up pregnant, and then you follow the child that she has and grows up to be, and then you follow his children. Like, it's just it's a family generational family story, and it is beautiful, and it's a great literary fiction read. Next, we have probably one of what I considered when I first started reading, like really reading, one of my favorite books of all time. I don't know if I would still think that if I reread it, maybe, but this is a bit of a darker literary fiction read, and that is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Exquisite. I loved this book when I read it. This book is about Vanessa, who is a young girl who was groomed by a teacher at her boarding school. And it's essentially, you follow her story from high school, the boarding school, and how he did what he did and did her so wrong, and how messed up it made her as she got older. So it starts in 2000 when she's at the boarding school, and then it sort of fast forwards to 2017 when she's an adult, and things are coming out in the media about this teacher and how he was predatory towards other people at the school. And she is in denial because she believed she was like madly in love with this man and he was in love with her and they had a real relationship, yada yada yada. It is dark. It will make you frustrated but also really think. It's provocative, and it is a wonderful read. I really enjoyed it. There are trigger warnings with this one, obviously, because it's about a man who groomed a young girl. Yeah, so go into this book knowing it's gonna be there's gonna be some tough topics discussed. However, love this book, and I would like to reread it at some point. Does that make me crazy? Wanting to reread a book about a man grooming a young girl? Maybe. That's a little gross. Hey, at least it's not Lolita. And next up I have another one. Again, I think any book by this author could be considered literary fiction and would also be a good read. I've read 3 of her books. I think this one is my favorite at this point. And that is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ning. I don't know. This one is, I haven't read it in a really long time. This one is about Mia, who is a single mother. She is Asian, I believe. Asian American? Is she? Yes. I'm getting a little confused because I did more recently than read this book see the Amazon show that was based off of this book with like Reese Witherspoon. Mia was not Asian in that, she was black. So I'm a little confused in my head. but I am 90% sure that Mia is Asian. And she is a single mom to Pearl, who is her teenage daughter. And they live in this very, very wealthy community. Think like gated community. And they are not well off. She's a single mom. But they live in like a small apartment that they rent there. And it's really about class and race and what you would do for your family. You learn a lot about Mia and where she came from and why she is the way she is. There's also another family in this book who is white, and you learn a lot about them and the dynamics between that family and Mia. It's a wonderful character study, essentially, which is kind of what literary fiction is. And I really enjoyed this one. I hope that was a good summary of this book, because I have not read this book in a really long time. I just remember how much I enjoyed reading it, and I have seen the TV show way more recently, and I don't think the TV show did this book justice. So there's that. Honorable mention, I also did read Our Missing Hearts by Celeste, which was also, sorry, a sticker, and I feel like I have to take it off and it won't come off. This one is her more recent publication, her most recent book. I don't know why I said that. And it was also really good. I think it's about a young girl. All of her books are centered around Asian families, Asian characters, and it's almost always like a mother-daughter type relationship. So I believe that is also what this one is about. Yeah. And this one was also really good. So yeah, should read this one as well. I have also read her other one, which is, I cannot even remember the name of it, but I really didn't like it that much. Something about everything I never told you. Didn't love that one, but I know that a lot of people, it's like one of their favorite Celeste books. So don't necessarily take my word for it. Next, I have one that I feel like nobody ever talks about, but it is a really beautiful read. And that is called Transcendent Kingdom by Gyasi. I hope I'm saying that right. Probably not. Sorry if I butchered that name. Yeah, this one was really beautiful. It's about a young woman who is a neuroscientist, neuroscientist. Yeah. And she is super smart, and she is attending Stanford University and studying behavior-seeking something. Reward-seeking behavior in mice, because her brother died of an overdose of addiction. Her brother was addicted to opioids, and so that really affects her and what she wants to do with the rest of her life, and she wants to study it and she wants to understand it. And her mother, because of her brother, you know, dying of such a terrible death of an overdose, her mother is severely depressed. And so this girl, what's her name? Gifty, is trying to understand these things, trying to understand human behavior and addiction and depression, and she's trying to study these things in school because she wants to understand the things that are happening in her life. This was a really well told story. It was a really interesting book about depression and addiction and the impacts on people in life. Yeah, that was a really good one that I feel like not many people talk about, but I loved that one. I also have 2 more books that I don't have physical. First is another one that I feel like is a classic literary fiction novel, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ishiguro. This one was really good. Never Let Me Go is about I'm not going to give too much away because I feel like you need to go into this particular story with not a lot of background about it. But essentially it's about a group of young people at a boarding school in the UK, and things are not all that they appear to be. And that is where I will leave that one, because it's really one of those stories where you should go into it not having a lot of background on what that story is about, because it's just better that way, going into it not knowing. Personally, I had seen the movie before I read the book, so that was taken from me. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I had read the book before I saw the movie. But anyway, that is a beautiful story, and it is very character driven, and that one is like bordering on maybe science fiction, I want to say. Hopefully that's not giving too much away about this story, but that was a really fascinating read, and an emotional, it was a bit of an emotional read for sure. And then next, my last book is called, I feel like this was a really big one in 2020, I think. And that is called The Vanishing Half by Bennett. I loved this book. This is like probably one of my top literary fiction reads. The Vanishing Half is about it's about twins. They are black and they are passing. They could pass as white. They come from like a small town where everybody is black, a lot blacker than they are. And so they're kind of the outcast in their community. And it's about these two sisters and their lives. One sister sort of stays in the community and embraces her black identity, and the other sister leaves, and she goes and she gets married to a white man, and she passes as a white woman and lives that life. And you really see both of these people's lives and their children and how they grow up and how different their lives are because of the path that they went on. And this was such an interesting story. It was so beautiful, and the characters have like stuck with me since reading it, and I read it in 2020. Loved that book, The Vanishing Half. If you take one book from this list, make it The Vanishing Half by Bennett, because that one is exquisite, beautiful, love it. There are probably so many other books that I could talk about for this list, but I don't want to like bombard you with too many books that it's like overwhelming, you know? So I could do a part 2 at some point if people really enjoyed this this video. That's it, short but sweet. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, and until next time.